It seems like the football world in general, like the media and other clubs, and referring to their fans and things. When you go on these sort of forums, you see comments, all these sort of things, etc. That people are starting to take notice of West Ham and what they're doing this summer. Really starting to realise that bloody hell, West Ham aren't mucking around. They're getting a lot of business done early, and considering the fact, we're less than 2 weeks now until the Premier League season starts, and we've done a fair amount of business, and we're noticing it. You know what I mean? We're thinking this is a bit more like it. This feels good. It feels great that we're on top of things, and we're showing that ambition that we've all been craving for so long. And what I'm leading to here is also in referring to players that we've got at the club that we want to ship out. I've always felt that with David Moyes previously, one of his sort of biggest flaws in a way was the fact he was just too loyal to certain players at times. And it always was a worry, wasn't it? Like, it didn't matter how sort of bad their form was, or they weren't quite right off in the system. It always felt like he always sort of leant towards them, put an arm around them. No, you're going to stay here, whatever the cost, sort of thing. It wasn't ruthless enough, I found at times, and it was very frustrating. But that's gone now. That loyalty to certain players has gone. And we're certainly seeing it now with Lopetegui, who's obviously coming, rightly so. He's got no loyalty to any of these players. He doesn't need to be saying, well, he's been good for me. He never managed them. He's not bothered. So he's coming in now, just seeing it with a fresh pair of eyes, and straight away he has noticed Kurt Zouma and thought straight away, this ain't happening. We are not sticking with this player. And I really want to make this very clear before I sort of go in more into this video. I really respect Kurt Zouma in terms of what he's done for West Ham. I think he's been a great player for us. I know, obviously, cat stuff aside and whatever happened there, that was obviously a big mark against his name. And that was dealt with at the time, and the club obviously stood by him, etc., etc. But in terms of what he's offered on us on the pitch, he's been a monster for us. He's been such a consistently great player, and he was. He really goes down as one of our sort of best centre-backs in recent years. He's been that good. A really solid performer, but we always knew there was going to be a problem with his knees. We knew that when we signed him. I think that's one of the key reasons we actually did get him in the end from Chelsea. I.e. the other bigger clubs weren't going to touch him because they just knew that he was a risk with these injuries. And it just feels now like it's caught up with him now. Last season, he really, really struggled, didn't he? My word, he couldn't even walk, let alone run. Do you know what I mean? You're watching him thinking, it was frightening. It was horrible to watch. And obviously, Lopetegui's now come in, seen him in 5 minutes and thought, no, this ain't happening. Because if you remember earlier in the window, it was kind of a case of, well, look, if we sell Kurt Zouma, if we sell Agurd, then yeah, we'll look to replace these defenders. But if not, no, we're going to stick with them. He's obviously changed his mind pretty quickly on that. Lopetegui and started and obviously looked at the situation and gone, no, this needs sort. We reported earlier in the week actually on the website that decided basically that Zuma's time's up and they were looking to offload him. I've got to be honest, when you first see that and you think of his injury situation with his knees, you're like, well, who's going to take him? Do you know what I mean? Who on earth is going to get him out of this contract? Bearing in mind, he's got a year to run. He's on a high wage. There's absolutely no chance in there he's going to another Premier League side or even Championship side. I just can't see that happening. He ain't going to pass a medical. The only hope was Saudi. Well, it seems like our prayers have been answered actually, because a Saudi club has now come in for Kurt Zouma, as we understand it, that they are in talks with West Ham. I think even West Ham are open to the deal of just letting him go for free. They just take him on, take his wages and go, yeah, off you go. West Ham want to free these wages, actually want to invest in another centre-back. Tadibo obviously being the sort of main target for that position. I've still got a feeling something might happen there. I still feel like that with Duran. I still feel these deals aren't gone. Obviously, Juventus aren't able to cough up the money to get Tadibo at the moment. They've had a fair amount of time. They're talking, about a month now to get this sorted out. They can't get the deal done clearly. So you do wonder whether we're just standing back and waiting to sort of pound to get that deal done, because that would be a hell of a signing, wouldn't it? A player that's heavily linked, of course, to Manchester United, Juventus, of course, being the sort of front runners for him. But if West Ham can come in and get that deal done, that'd be amazing. But obviously, West Ham are going to be bringing in the centre back. We need to get it sorted out. We've got at the moment, obviously, we've got Agurd, who you kind of feel now might be playing his way back into the plans, and maybe he's settling down. I don't know. He was the one right at the beginning of the window as being talked about as the most likely to go. We talked about this channel. The most likely to go will be Agurd, and I still got a feeling it might happen. He might depart, but I don't know. There's also that feeling now that he looks. I don't know if you've seen the videos of him, but he always looks really happy. Seems to be enjoying life at the moment. So whether that's just him, putting on a little bit for the cameras, or he's just enjoying playing with his teammates, whatever, and he wants to move on, I don't know. But he certainly doesn't come across as a player that's desperate to get out of West Ham. And who knows? Maybe him playing under Lopetegui, that will sort of rejuvenate his career a little bit at West Ham and sort of get him back on track of where he wants to be. I don't know, but at the moment, when we were talking about a Gerd being the most likely to go, that's certainly not the case. It's now looking like Zuma. And look, as I've said, I think Zuma's been a great player for West Ham, and I think he goes with his head held high at West Ham. He's been a great player for us. Obviously, captain for a season as well, and the trophy. You know, I mean, he's done really well, really well. So I mean, I think that he's at that point of his career now. He needs to go either retire because his knees are gone, or if he wants to go and get a payday, you can't blame the guy. And it looks as though that could well be happening. Don't forget. The Saudi club has had a strong interest in Zuma for quite some time. So let's hope West Ham can get that sorted out. And I really like this approach. I like the fact we're being ruthless. We're not hanging around. We're recognising problems, getting them sorted. We recognise we've got a problem at right back. We're trying to get it sorted with Wan-Bissaka. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow in another video. Another bit of news as well I want to talk about. This is, by the way, signings. Yes, I know we've got signings, new players to talk about. That's going to be coming up a bit later. We'll do another video again tomorrow on those. This is more just about what's happened today. Sort of like breaking news. Zuma's obviously the big one. The other big bit of news, of course, is our captain. Now, nothing's been confirmed. It's not 100% certain. Obviously, Lopetegui is looking now for his next West Ham captain. Obviously, Max Kilman was brought in. It was a kind of feeling that he might well be made captain, considering the fact he was captain for Lopetegui at Wolves. He is obviously going to be a contender. Edson Alvarez, I feel like, is a sort of fan favourite, as it were, when you sort of do the polls. And when I speak to other fans, it always feels like Edson Alvarez is the name that always tends to be the most common one that people want to see be made captain. But Jarrod Bowen, apparently, is sort of becoming the front runner. So the next WHO employee, he is now becoming a player that Lopetegui is seriously considering making West Ham captain. Of course, he's only just signed a massive long-term deal. I think it's a 7-year deal, wasn't it, for West Ham last season, Jarrod Bowen. I mean, it's 2030 his deal runs to him. It's pretty amazing. And it's England international. If we could, I think it would be wise. I'll tell you what, like, this is my personal feeling. I've always kind of wanted Alvarez. He was kind of the one I've always thought, but I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be disappointed with Bowen. I really wouldn't. We've heard really good things about him in terms of his leadership qualities. I think last season there was a few times that there was certainly one big occasion. I can't remember the exact game it was, but he gave a big speech to the team and really got them geared up, G'd up for a game. I think I might have been at half time, and to turn things around. And I just like that idea. And he's obviously a really well-respected guy at West Ham. Fans love him, players love him. He's really sort of becoming part of furniture at West Ham now, isn't he, Bowen? And the fact he's now signed that long-term deal, and I just feel like, what a way to sort of like cement that now by making him the captain. So it's a big news here. I think the two big things. It'd be interesting to see what we get. I mean, obviously, the decision on captain's got to be made. Apparently, from what X has said, not only is Bowen now considered a sort of front runner to be made captain, it's going to be kind of noticeable in the game at the weekend. We've got Celta Vigo in the sort of Betway Cup game. At London Stadium, our last pre-season friendly before we play Villa in the Premier League. So that's the one we've got to keep an eye on. That I think will be the indicator. Whoever's going to be captain in that game, who leads the team out, will most likely be made officially captain. Unless, of course, it's announced before that, but I'm not sure it will be. Yes, that's where we are. This is big news today. Obviously, Kurt Zouma leaving West Ham is going to be a big change. We need that. He's obviously club captain last season, but it's needed. I mean, let's get it straight. I mean, regardless of how good he is when he's fit, he's not going to be fit, is he? Let's look at him now. He looks completely broken. And last season, he was really struggling. The fact he's been away on holiday and come back, and already his knees are swelling and his ice packs and stuff. You're just like, we've got to get this sorted out. And obviously, there was those games out. I think it was the Wolves game when he was tracking back, and he was all over the show. Zuma, he really looked poor. He could barely run. I mean, they've got to get it sorted out, and it does feel like we are. And that's what I'm loving about this. Do you know what I mean? It's not only the fact we're bringing players in, which is also great. Obviously, signings are brilliant and it's exciting. But I like our approach. We're being ruthless. We're identifying problems and going, we've got to get that sorted. I always felt like that wasn't the case under Moyes for a while. Do you know what I mean? It always felt like players were playing really badly, but oh well, that's my trusted player. They're going to play anyway. We could go and replace them in the summer. No, I'm going to trust. You know what I mean? It was always like this reluctance to make too much change. Whereas now we've got a bit of a fresher approach, and I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, Kurt Zouma could well be on his way to Saudi, and Jarrod Bowen could well be West Ham captain. Come on, you on.